Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? I'm Mark. I'm just joking.
No, you need to do that.
I'm actually Liam. I'm from Cancer Rats, and this is Mark from Distorted Input. We're at Hit the Deck 2015. It's sunny, but you can't tell. They've hidden the sun from us today. We're going to talk a little bit about Hit the Deck. We have a new record called Searching for Zero, and I'm going to ask Mark just some questions that I've been thinking about asking him. So question for question.
All right, seems fair. So what have you been up to over the last 6 months?
Whoa, 6 months. I guess the record came out about 2 months ago. So then before that, I guess I was just in Toronto hanging out. Oh, I actually really rad. I guess this would still count within 6 months ago. I went to Costa Rica on a dirt bike trip. Nice. Across Costa Rica with 10 of my friends. My girlfriend owns a motorcycle shop, and so they organized this whole trip across Costa Rica, and it was literally the best trip I've ever been on in my entire life. And it ended, we were down in rainforest jungle. We had to ride all these crazy dirt roads and water crossings and stuff like that. It was the best thing ever. So that happened. And then this record came out. People were excited about it, which I was like, whew! And then we started touring it, and the kids came out, and they were psyched on it. So I was extra yeah, we're still in business, yeah. And then this tour started with While She Sleeps, and it's been killer. And then fast forward to now, we're in the UK, and it's just extra killer. Do you partake in any extreme sports?
Not recently, but I guess when I was 15, I used to skateboard, if that counts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I used to do that, but not so much anymore,
No?
No.
I've been doing a lot of skateboarding on this tour, actually.
Yeah?
While She Sleeps, skate heavily. Laws is actually a really good skateboarder.
How are you?
I'm decent. I can hold my own. I can definitely skate a mini really well. But yeah, I definitely don't crush it in the same way that Laws does. Now, what's your question?
My question? I haven't thought one. All right, so writing the new record, how did you go about it? What was the writing process leading up to it?
We had a ton of time off, or we decided to take a ton of time off, which is completely different from how we've done any of the other records. So normally we're just in between tours, and we try and write the record as fast as possible so we can go back on tour. Whereas this time around, we were let's chill out from tour and let's hang out at home and enjoy being in Toronto and enjoy being with our friends and family and loved ones and kind of do some other things in life. Scott learned how to build guitars. Jay got back into woodworking. Mikey got married. My girlfriend and I bought a house. We did renovations on it. Mikey did renovations on his house. We were just all kind of doing some real life stuff, which was really nice to kind of take away from the break of just always being on tour. So I think by default then when we came to working on the album, it was just fun. It was just 4 dudes hanging out, having fun, writing songs together, almost in the same way that you would when you just start a band with some friends, instead of this is our job, this is what we have to do. And we had all this confidence placed in us from BMG, who were just yeah, just take your time, write this record. It needs to be really good, but make sure you're not rushing into it to try and do that. So we were just oh, okay, cool. Let's just hang out. Let's throw around ideas. Let's try and write as many songs as we can. And I think by default, taking that time off and kind of being more chilled out about it and having other things happening in our real life, it was just again fun. Just not it's ever a grind, but it was just again those ideas of why you start a band in the first place.
Yeah.
Because you share musical interests and you want to just make some fucking awesome songs together. And it was just that. It was just whoa, that riff rules. Okay, now I gotta write vocals that are as cool as that riff. And it wasn't oh, will this be able to get on the radio? Or is this what kids want to listen to now? You know what I mean? There was none of that bullshit. It was so awesome. So it was just yeah, hanging out. I hope to always be stoked, and that's kind of about it. I feel like I've made it this far in my life, not really having any ulterior goals, like to place on anything that I've done. Like, I've never been like, Cancer Bats needs to be big, or I need to do this, or I should have X amount of money in my bank account. Things like that. It helps that I have a really cool girlfriend, too, that, like, also is really organized and helps to, like, be like, hey, we should buy a house. And then I'm like, okay, I should do that with you. So I feel like that by default also means I can, like, kind of ride her coattails, and like she'll be the organized one and I'll be the fun one. I shouldn't say fun one, but I'll be the goof, you know what I mean? That like doesn't think about those things. Still being responsible.
You're gonna be in trouble.
I'm probably gonna be in trouble with that one. I'll say there's been a lot of retrospect right now, especially because we're at like 10 years as a band, and there's been a lot of nostalgia, like on this tour, and kind of just in general, just because like a whole bunch of stuff, like thinking about coming to the UK for the first time, and like even just like how that's developed. Like, we're from Canada, you know what I mean? Like, we're like a hardcore band from Canada that is now bigger in the UK than we are like in anywhere in the world. Like, we played like rad shows everywhere, and Canada's still like awesome for us, but Canada doesn't even have the scene the size of like the UK. So like the fact that we come here and we play all these insane shows, and like we like get stopped in the street, and like people like you want to even do an interview, you know what I mean? I think is like insane. Like, it's so awesome. So the fact that we like are still able to do that and like have such like a cool relationship with like a place we actually like being in too, I think is like really rad. So that definitely is like, we're currently on a highlight. Like, the fact that we've still just been able to do this, and that this by default is like my job, is like so cool.